May we bow for the moment of silence? Thanks. You may be seated.
Very good afternoon to our distinguished Vice-Chancellor, Thoko, Mayekiso, the Dean of the Faculty of Agriculture and Natural Sciences, Professor Thoko, distinguished guests. We are really delighted by your presence today at this auspicious occasion of the Professorial Inauguration of Professor Funso Kutu, Professor in Agronomy and Head of the School of Agriculture, Agricultural Sciences, and the Faculty of Agriculture and Natural Sciences. This inauguration stands testament to the excellence at the University of Mpumalanga, and it highlights the importance of the extraordinary combination of research, teaching and learning, and engagement that brings forward true scholarship and the role in stark contrast that universities play in shaping the future, and especially here at the University of Mpumalanga. Professor Kutu's address for his inauguration today is Life Beyond Our Daily Bread, Unravelling Soil Health Myths. Professor Kutu's address will focus on the desired goal of promoting agricultural sustainability, food security, and ecosystem services within the context of a clear understanding of soil health and related agricultural practices. The lecture will also highlight the critical role of soil health in promoting agricultural productivity and environmental resilience. Through the sharing of his experience in soil science and agronomy of over 3 decades from different institutions, different countries, Professor Kutu will address the various fallacies surrounding soil health and agronomic practices. There's been wide impact of Professor Kutu's work already, and this has been acknowledged, and we celebrate this professor's achievements here today. Colleagues, as with any academic journey, there are many support networks, collaborators, both personal and professional, that assists a colleague to reach the pinnacle of this academic career. These include, of course, various funders. It includes students, past and present. It includes, and especially in Prof. Kutu's environment, farmers across all 4 regions of areas that he has worked. Collaborators academically are quite critical. We are very delighted to also acknowledge senior representation from the Provincial Department of Agriculture here, other farmer empowerment and agricultural development and transformation, South Africa, their organization, and distinguished supporters of Professor Kutu, including Professors Babalola, Idubudia, Mafia, Sadibe, Kapo, Uye, and Dr. Gallo. Colleagues, it is my pleasure to request then the esteemed Vice-Chancellor for the welcome remarks and to contextualize the Professorial Inauguration. Professor Mayekiso.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor and a privilege for me to welcome you this afternoon to this special and auspicious occasion, the first inaugural lecture at the University of Mpumalanga, to be delivered by Professor Funso Raphael Kutu. Professor Kutu was appointed as a full professor in agronomy at the University of Mpumalanga on the 1st of January 2017, and was one of the first professors to be appointed to that role at this university. I would like to extend a special word of welcome to the following, starting by Professor Kutu, our guest of honor this afternoon, usingaye ngesixhosa, lesite ngaye ngeSiswati, and translated to mean the one who is the reason for our presence here today, usingaye. Dr. Messi Kutu and the Kutu family, thanks for supporting our professor. We appreciate all the sacrifices for him to reach the professoriate. Professor John Onweti and Mrs. Janice Onweti, the doctoral supervisor for Professor Kutu, thank you for making time to be with us this evening. This is a reflection of the quality of supervision Professor Kutu received, that he still has strong bonds with his supervisor until today. Professor Mugeni, DVC Planning and Finance from the University of Arusha in Tanzania. Our own Professor Pindile Lukele Wenorundu, Professor Mugao, DVC from KZN, and other distinguished guests of Professor Kutu. We have members of MENCO, members of Extended MENCO, deans and heads of schools, academic and support staff, our SRC president and other students present today, the strategic partners that were acknowledged by Professor Strudel, you are all welcome. This indeed is a prestigious and special occasion for the entire community of the University of Mpumalanga and beyond. Thank you for taking time to share this day with us. The University of Mpumalanga, as part of its pioneering journey, Luhambo Lwemhlahlandlela, has taken its place steadily and steadfastly alongside other universities. Whilst having opportunities as a new university to innovate and be visionary, UMP has also the inescapable responsibility to tap into some of the traditions of universities, such as the delivery of inaugural lectures, the rite of passage to become a professor in a university has for hundreds of years included the test of having to profess one's knowledge to fellow academics and the lay audience. Indeed, the origins of the title professor come from the need to profess or declare publicly one's knowledge. The inaugural lectures are intended to signify that UMP is taking its rightful place amongst institutions that acknowledge and celebrate scholars who have endurance, vision, resilience, and tenacity, and who have a track record of academic excellence. Today, we mark a significant milestone in our pioneering journey. But also a historic moment in the developmental trajectory of our institution and our commitment to academic excellence. The presentation of an inaugural lecture is a significant milestone in the academic career of a full professor and provides a platform to share brilliant discoveries, innovative ideas, and deep insights with the academic community and the public. Today's lecture will provide a platform for Professor Kutu to share past research and allow us to peep into present and future research. He will be sharing with us his achievements in research, innovation, teaching, and engagement, and showcase the impact of his academic endeavors nationally and internationally. The idea is for the professor to share his academic journey in a language that is accessible to all, including those of us who are coming from the humanities and social sciences. We hope to leave this room well informed about agronomy. We look forward as the UMP community and our valued friends to listen to Professor Kutu profess his knowledge of agronomy and in particular his specialization in soil fertility management on this special day. Over the past 7 years, we have witnessed Professor Kutu's commendable commitment to advance the vision of the University of Mpumalanga to be an African university, leading in creating opportunities for sustainable development through innovation. Professor Kutu, thank you for embodying the values of UMP, the values of excellence, integrity, diversity, collaboration, adaptability, relevance, and inspiration. You have proved yourself to be an accomplished scholar in your field of agronomy. We celebrate wholeheartedly the outstanding contribution you have made to your discipline, and we welcome you to the UMP Professoriate. May this be a meaningful and memorable occasion to all of us. Thank you.
Professor Mayekiso, the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Mpumalanga, the Management Committee and Extended Management Committee of the University of Mpumalanga, distinguished guests, good afternoon. Professor Funso Raphael Kutu received his BSc Honours in Agriculture and MSc in Agronomy, both of which the specialization was in soil science, and his PhD in agriculture, all from the University of Ibadan in Nigeria. He is a distinguished agronomist specializing in soil science with extensive experience gained through working in various tertiary and research institutions spanning over 3 decades. He joined the University of Mpumalanga in 2018 as a professor in agronomy and has been serving as head of UMP's School of Agricultural Sciences since October 2018 to date. He has published widely in accredited journals, including book chapters and monographs, and presented over 100 papers at different conferences globally. A recipient of UMP 2023 Research Excellent Award, Prof. Kutu is an NRFC 2 rated researcher and has successfully supervised numerous master's and doctoral graduates, and has mentored several emerging academics and postdoctoral scholars. His previous role as associate editor of the journal Agronomy Journal is further testimony to his research leadership. We often pray for our daily bread, and many of us need that and more. And that is a way in which we sustain our lives. This is why Prof. Kutu will speak to us today on life beyond our daily bread, where he will unravel soil health myths in the context of food security and sustainable food systems. Prof. Kutu, over to you, sir.
Vice-Chancellor, Professor Thoko Mayekiso, Deputy Vice-Chancellors, DVC Teaching and Learning, Prof. Shele, Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Postgraduate Studies, Engagement and Partnership, Prof. Dewi, Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Research, Innovation and Internationalization, Prof. Schroeder. The Registrar, Itatistilo, Lehodi, MANCO and E-MANCO members present, Deans of the Faculty, Heads of Schools, program leaders here present and those who are connecting virtually for one reason or the other, distinguished professors and members of UMP Senate. I see members of my council. I appreciate your presence. SRC President and members of UMP CRC. My father, Professor John Ajayi Mweti, and Mom, Mrs. Janice Umeti, UMP staff and students, friends, colleagues, and all those who are watching this lecture virtually, including members of my community. I thank you for witnessing today's occasion. Madam Vice-Chancellor, I'm extremely honored to have been chosen to present the first inaugural lecture by the University of Mpumalanga, which, as you have alluded to, represents a peak of academic exercise that one needs to give at that level. I'm most grateful to the management of UMP for giving me this opportunity. Today is unique for me for many reasons, but I'm not going to dwell much on those reasons. But just to indicate that it comes over 10 years after my first pronouncement of being pronounced as a full professor. So I'm happy the day finally came, and it's happening in UND. I must indicate that as a young boy, in my early life, I lived with my uncle, late uncle, who was a military person. And my desire then was to be a military man. This, unfortunately, did not manifest for several reasons. I lived with him briefly for 2 years in the barracks, so I was trained in the military school, military children's school, so we did imbibe some discipline those days. But I'm happy, upon return to my grandmother, the thought of being in the military disappeared. Of course, it keeps coming in and out until I finished my first degree and have to go for the National Youth Service Program. And the experience serving in the National Youth Service Program draw me back again to see whether I can go back into the military. But before then, I had tried to sit for the NDA military exam to see whether I can go in. Unfortunately, I'm not sure whether I failed or I passed, but I was not given any chance. But move forward in terms of my life, thanks for the intervention of dedicated effort of my supervisor, Professor Mweti, Professor Emilio Mayilari, my late grandfather, who supervised my own supervisor, Professor Akinola Agbola, and many other senior academics who were there to support me and model me. I'm grateful to them. I now found that there is a better home other than being a military man. My story is therefore a manifestation of what was written in the Bible. In the book of Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 5. Before I made you in your mother's body, I knew you. Before you were born, I chose you for a specific work. I was born and chosen not to serve as a military officer, but as a scientist and lecturer who will continue or contribute towards knowledge generation and human capital development for the fulfillment of the mandate of God, and to work and care for the soil to feed the world. This is what George Washington, the first American president, states. Agriculture is the most helpful, the most useful, and the most noble employment of man. I'm not going to talk too much about the history of how soil was formed. For the majority of us who have read it, you read how God created the world. And on that particular day, moved to now create man and ask man to possess everything that exists, including the beautiful fruits that are there in the garden. Unfortunately, man, somewhere along the line, misbehaved. And God declared who he was. And from there, told man that henceforth, you will need to till the soil in order to plant, in order to eat. No wonder the Bible says, he who tilled his land we have plenty of bread. But he who pursues worthless things lacks sense or has poverty in plenty. I have several verses of the Bible, which my council member, Pastor Stole, assisted with. Of course, Charles E. Kellogg states, and I quote, essentially, all life depends upon soil. There can be no life without soil, and no soil without life. They both evolve together. The German philosopher also indicates, Mr. Exter, what we plant in the soil of contemplation, we shall reap in the harvest of action. We will get to understand this when I unpack my presentation. Now, where it started, Vice-Chancellor, today's lecture provided me with the opportunity to share a reflection of my academic journey, which was initially characterized by a mixture of confusion, fear, anxiety, uncertainty. However, my determination, resilience, and indefatigable spirit to bring about change in my situation triggered the spirit of optimism rather than despair. Most importantly, the presence of academic giants, some of whom I've mentioned earlier on, valuable friends, and particularly my family, kept my spirit alive. It wasn't easy. So, and that is exemplified by the principle of Ubuntu, which the support they provided for me. And in the Yoruba adage, the broad language under which I come from, back home, we say, of me. Without these people, I wouldn't have been what I am today. Notwithstanding the rough route that I passed, my doctoral study was turbulent. However, I'm grateful to my supervisor and the entire team that ensured that I earned that qualification. And upon completion of the PhD program, 3 years after, where all hopes were lost and were focused on my teaching job back home, I was told there's an opportunity for a postdoctoral space, which Professor Pearson Kenny magnanimously provided at the University of Forte. And that opened the door that reignited my aspiration, hope, and renewed vision. It created a new generation of its opportunity not only to explore, but to acquire new skills and contribute to the development of scholarly development and innovation in research and the development of human capital, providing support for our farmers. I'm grateful for that. I will provide the detail of all the work that I've done from then to date. Madam Vice-Chancellor, soil is not just a mere death that we still dirty, don't touch. We touch because we are all soil. It constitutes the life and bedrock of a thriving ecosystem, sustaining crop and promoting biodiversity, guaranteeing availability of essential sources of that helps to improve the health of not just human beings, but the health of the nation. It is the receptor of several tons of hazardous waste from landfills. As a soil scientist and a soil science lecturer, I practice as an agronomist beyond training of students about soil science and what it entails and how best to use this. I also use my profession to benefit farmers and protect the environment. I also undertake impactful research work on the assessment of soil fertility and innovative agricultural practices that are required to guarantee sustainable food production. We are what we eat. The safety of what we eat is dependent on the health of the soil from which the food is produced. The title of my lecture, lies beyond our daily bread, unraveling soil health, lies in the heart of the research team at undertake, which is towards improving the sustainability and resilience of agro-ecosystem through improved soil fertility and nutrient management practices. And this is underpinned by 6 different focal areas, which I must indicate. These are the 6 research areas that underpin my work. But I must also indicate that both the theme and the research areas are all linked to the Sustainable Development Goal, goal number 2, goal number 3, goal number 12, and goal number 13. Not only that, they are also linked to the Africa Agenda 2063, goal number 1, goal number 3, goal number 5, and goal number 7. Both Africa Agenda 2063 and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 2, 3, 12, and 13 are the drivers and what informed the research that I do. But I must indicate, Vice-Chancellor, that to understand the context of this research work, link that with soil, it is important for us to understand the nature of our soil in this part of the world. Our soil are characteristically old, they are inherently fragile, and dominated by what we call low activity clays. And because of the dominance of low activity clays in these soils, the inherent ability of this soil to hold nutrients and hold water that plants require to grow is very, very weak. The resilience of this soil to ease of degradation is also very weak, very easily degraded, and loss of nutrients is quite very high rapid in this soil. And for the soils to be made productive, it requires a lot of investment in terms of input that must be put into the soil to support the growth. And the soils, what is important is the fact that for the soils to be productive, they need to be fertile and to be healthy. And the determinant of fertility and the health of the soil is what is shown in this slide. The biological productivity of the soil, the biological fertility of the soil is very important. The physical fertility of the soil is also important, and the chemical fertility. DVC, teaching and learning, is not just put fertilizer. It's not just put fertilizer in the soil. I promise you, if you do not look after the physical component of the soil, you put fertilizer in it, you will not get the desired result. So it's important for us when we talk about soil fertility, we talk about the health of the soil. Those are characteristics that we need the indicators that we need to pay attention to. And this very important when you talk about managing our soils to support our crop. When we look several literature that are there which have spoken about what different individual holds about the various soil needs that we have. Among the soil needs are that nutrient balance are always negative. Fertilizer damage the soil. Adding phosphate rock to compost increase production. Legumes are the source of free nitrogen that we have in the soil. Organic inputs can help sustain your crop. These are different messages that are there. But I can promise you, VC, some of these myths are not entirely true. And the reason is because we do not understand what the soil and soil health entails. However, our current knowledge of soil science, particularly in the field of agronomy and applying fertilizer on the field has helped us to have a better understanding in terms of how best to manage our soil. But most importantly, that the quality of the soils influence the quality of what you get from it. So it is important for us to always pay attention when we talk about soil quality and soil health. Soil quality, there are those who also misinterpret or use the two synonymously, but there is a difference between soil quality and soil health, and that you can link into our human being. You live a quality life, but you have a healthy life. They are two different things. You understand it from that point. The quality speaks to all the provisions that need to be there to support the growth of the crop. But the health is where the soil now must be able to perform all its functions. It's not just support the plant growth, but also there are other roles that the soil has to play, for cleaning water, cleaning the pollution in the environment. So those functions, the soils must be able to perfect of it. So that differentiates between soil quality and soil health. Our world-renowned soil scientist and former president of International Union of Soil Science, Dr. Pedro Sanchez, in one of the conferences, helps also to clarify the difference between soil health. He highlighted the importance of soil health and become what he referred to as myth about fertilizers and soil health. And he explained that the claim that fertilizer poisons the soil is false. On condition that, you see the condition, DVC, you remember, I told you. You don't just use fertilizer. You must know the right type of fertilizer to use. You must know the right amount. You must know the right time, and you must apply it at the right place. If you do not take care of those 4 R principles, you are most likely not to get good result from your fertilizer application. Then the statement, fertilizer poisoning the soil, could be then read for that individual. I want to quickly delve VC on the number of research work that I have done so far. First, I will speak to my research work on soil fertility evaluation and management. Soil fertility speaks to the ability of the soil to sustain plant growth through the provision of essential nutrients and favorable chemicals that have indicated not just chemical, physical, and biological characteristics. The earlier work I conducted, particularly the work from Energy et al. 1997, Akimbola and Kutu 1999, Oloniluha and Kutu 2000, Kutu et al. 2001, and Moeti and Kutu 2003, represent the foundation of my contribution to better understanding of soil fertility management. The output of my postdoctoral work on the use of human urine as a crop nutrient source. I repeat, use of human urine and human feces. This work was done at University of Forte under the leadership of Professor Mukeni. It was an excellent work that launched me into the research world beyond my PhD work. I've been known through this work. Sweden, Asia, India in particular, have had reason to collaborate with people based on the work that was started on nutrient management at the University of Forte. I will not want to waste too much time on the details of this, but just to indicate that the work by Energy et al. 1997 actually shows, and this is what is shown in this table, where we look at different tillage practices and look at the effect of these tillage practices on maize and cowpea production under different soil types. The key message from this work, as shown in this table, is that what is now talked about as minimum tillage and zero tillage, which we use during our own days as slash and burn for zero tillage, mechanical tillage, and semi-mechanical. We found out that the use of these three tillage practices exert different effects on the nutrient composition of the soil. But to put the summary of this table is that what we call maximum tillage today, which in this study was used as which was used as a mechanical tillage, resulted in more damage than the manual or the zero tillage and the minimum tillage, than even on the nutrients, as well as the yield of the maize and the cowpea that we got from this field. Similar work on Akimbola and Kutu 1999, which assessed the productivity and suitability of inland valley soils in southwestern Nigeria and dry for 5 vegetable crops. The finding from this research revealed that these inland valley soils support different crops based on the phosphorus and the carbon content, indicating that phosphorus and carbon, which is linked to the organic matter level in the soil, represent an important source of maintaining soil productivity. Kutu, Agronomy, and Akimbola 2001 investigated the different forms of phosphorus on profiles across 3 Thoko sequences, also at the western part of Nigeria. The study underscored the importance of P, which is phosphorus, distribution and its effect on soil fertility management in tropical soil. Kutu and Omoiti 2001 looked at the dynamic of soil organic matter in the soil, particularly the different fractions that exist. The result indicates a significant decline in soil organic matter level after the first year, and by the second year, close to 90% of the soil organic matter level, depending on the intensity of cultivation and the crop that is planted, is lost. This study for the first time revealed that the particulate organic matter fraction, because that was the first time that we actually characterized the different forms of organic carbon in the soil. So that is the particulate organic matter fraction of the soil actually represent the most sensitive fraction of that normally lost when there's a change in management system. In other words, the moment you open up your land and you start planting, carbon is targeted, and of the different forms of carbon that is in the soil, the one that is most affected, and the moment that is lost, the particulate organic matter, it leads to huge crisis and a heavy loss in yield. And that is what is also shown in this table, where we look at the soil organic carbon, we look at soil microbial carbon, and the particulate organic carbon after 2 years. The first 2 years, the loss in carbon was between 31 and 36%, but at the end of the second year, up to 69% of the carbon, the particulate organic matter, is lost, which then leads to the huge yield that is observed as soon as we begin to work on land. So as a farmer, the moment you begin the first year of production, you are likely going to get a good yield, but as you cultivate the field, yield decline will increase as a result of the loss of this important component of the soil. Vice-Chancellor, the contribution from my postdoctoral research activities, which are also documented in Kenya et al. 2005, Kenya et al. 2008, and Kenya Kutu et al. 2010, represent part of the primary studies of the agricultural use of human urine, which is obtained from the urine divert toilet which is what we have here. And I must indicate that this work was actually supported by the Water Research Commission during those days, and we are grateful for that. It provides opportunity for us to actually reuse the nutrients that are contained in the waste that we generate. The study underscores by the urgent necessity for identification of effective and affordable soil nutrient management alternative in the face of rapidly declining soil fertility. Hence, this study assessed the economic potential and effectiveness of separately collected human urine and feces as safe, and I understand safe and underline safe, and viable nutrient alternative, as opposed to the conventional inorganic fertilizer. Specifically, the study revealed that human feces contain low nitrogen but relatively high phosphorus. Urine, on the other hand, contains high nitrogen but low phosphorus. Our test result on spinach. We also have cabbage as well as maize and tomato. Shows beautiful information which led to the publication that we had. And I must indicate, Vice-Chancellor, one of the publications currently sits as more than 140 citations. We concluded that potential exists for the use of human excreta for nutrient recycling through ecological sanitation as a sustainable nutrient source for food production, particularly in regions where soil fertility decline, like what we have in this part of in most part of Africa, is a major challenge which is contributing to food crisis that we have. We also recommended the cautious use of these resources, particularly the urine. The reason being that it has got high salt content, and if it's not carefully managed, you might find out that the salt will build up in the soil, and we don't want that to happen. This table shows the pH of soil as well as the electrical conductivity after applying various levels of the urine and the urine. I must also indicate that my phosphorus fertilizer work, which I did during my days in Agricultural Research Council, supported by the Maize Trust, where we were able to assess peel retention characteristics of 52 surface benchmark soils that were collected from over 288 farmers' fields across the country. We were able to look at the soils and characterize the phosphorus level in these soils and how much of such phosphorus that is retained when you have fertilizer application. The results from this study indicate that the various soils that we have around South Africa have different ability to retain phosphorus when applied as fertilizer. What is the implication? The implication is that farmers need to be guided in terms of what to apply, where to apply, and which specific fertilizer type to apply. The result of this study suggests that applying high inorganic purity in certain soils may be undesirable due to the high potential for the soil to retain P from those that was applied. While I also have the opportunity to be part of the research team that worked with ICRISAT Bulawayo through a collaboration project where we look at applying low levels of phosphorus, particularly under dry land areas around Limpopo area and part of Northwest Province, DVC, teaching and learning. I promise you, the data that we generated for this group actually gave insight into the model that was developed in Australia, which shows that there must be attention paid into not just the soil characteristics, but the climatic condition for effectiveness and accuracy of the model. Furthermore, Madam Vice-Chancellor, my collaboration work on this micro-dose fertilizer project with Ikwisa Bulawayo resulted in 3 publications, which one of them is also what was used in fine-tuning the model, APSIN. Other work that I've done include the nano-fertilizer formulation and assessment of maize response, which was published in a journal with impact factor of 4, the Dlamini et al. 2020. We had a number of publications on soil testing and interpretation of crop soil and nutrient management, and many others like the Kutu and Thoko 2011, Fefado and Kutu 2016, and all this information represents significant contributions to appropriate inorganic fertilizer use in South Africa. The work by the Phosphocomposting Technology Project, which was also carried out during my days in the University of Limpopo, and several others that we did while I was in ARC, like the Baloyi et al. 2014 A and B, Masowa et al. 2016, 2018, Kutu and Masowa 2018, Makoro et al., Kutu et al. 2019, Masowa et al. 2018, Akumere and et al. 2019 through my collaboration in University of Ibadan. All represent important contribution in the field of soil fertility and soil health management. Our findings from Kutu and Thoko on 38 field of 280 farmers in Limpopo have found the beneficial role of organic amendment as a viable alternative to inorganic fertilizer use for soil fertility improvement. However, just like inorganic fertilizers, organic fertilizer, you remember DVC teaching and learning, I told you, organic fertilizer need to be carefully utilized. It can't be used alone because the nutrient that is present in organic fertilizer is kept in organic form and plants will only utilize when they are present in inorganic form. So they have to be mineralized and change from organic to inorganic. And that period of transition from organic to inorganic can cause a delay, which crops might suffer from. My work on nutrient dynamics and soil plant relation with different cropping systems. Madam Vice-Chancellor, managing the complexity of soil-crop interaction for sustainable crop production is a critical component that farmers need to deal with in the course of their farming operation, and particularly in this era of climate change. Although nutrient management is highly variable, it must be balanced with a specific site needs. We don't just talk about managing nutrients. You must look at the sites where you want to manage and the nutrient to support your growth. The key goal of nutrient management is improving the nutrient and increase efficiency of fertilizer use. This has to be certifiably approved through different approaches. And among those approaches that we've also done in the literature include right placement, which is also part of the 4R principle that I mentioned earlier on, and most importantly, enhancing the efficiency of the nutrient that you apply. You don't want to apply 50 kilograms of nitrogen and only get 20 kilograms of grain. There must be a balance between your input and your output. On climate smart technology and agronomy practices, we also have undertaken quite a number of research work with VC, but notwithstanding the impact of climate change and soil degradation and the associated threats, the sector of agriculture continues to play a significant role in guaranteeing the food that we need through the adoption of various mitigation strategies. Over the past 7 years, I have investigated various studies that have shown potential to contribute to not only adapt to climate change and its reality, but mitigate the negative impact of climate change during crop production. Part of this work includes the work that involve developing materials that are adaptable to climate change, and I'm happy to indicate that our own Dr. Dube is one of the work that she published recently. It's Dube, Fertility, Kutu, and Sibia 2024. The work was initiated from one of our NGAP lecturers that I mentioned. Chukudi, Kutu, and Mavinga Hama 2021 A to D, Chukudi, Mavinga Hama, and Kutu 2022, and Chukudi, Mavinga Hama, Kutu, and Motsei 2022. These are some of the work that we have done, and all these are available on the on my profile, even on my profile at LinkedIn and Google Scholar. The compost science technology work that we did, which was aimed at improving soil health and crop production, mainly started with the work that my professor initiated while he was still at the University of Ibadan on Agronomy project, which I carried forward the lesson learned from that, my participation, even though it was not part of my paid work, but my participation in that project of his gave me a lot of lessons that I learned, and through that, I've also tried to do that and share that with my students. You don't get involved in only your work. You must know what your other colleagues in the research teams are doing. So that work actually helped me, and it was my first major grant from NRF on phosphate compost technology, and that helped greatly in the sense that the nutrient of the compost through phosphate rock addition during composting process resulted in increased phosphorus availability from the compost that we produce. Our result from the co-composting of various organic waste, including products from ponds, sediment, and human air, as additional feed. The composting work lasted for only 70 days, revealed a product that is rich in phosphorus just because of the addition of human air into our compost. It resulted in the higher P content of that of the compost that we produce. And that work was also part of the work which I did in collaboration with my colleagues from India through the tea research work that is widely publicized, Karak et al. 2016. We also have other work linked to that, which is Kutu et al. 2019, which looks at the various mix ratio of these phosphates and the human air in the compost. Dada and Kutu 2022 actually then evaluated these products, and we found that the heavy metals that are there in the compost were not necessarily translated to the harvest that we got from the field, which means the compost that we use, in terms of the mineral composition, the metals are actually very high, but in the produce that we harvest, they were not transmitted onto the harvest. My work on soil microbe interaction and the use of microbial inoculant, Madam Vice-Chancellor, include the work by Kutu and Asiwe 2010, Makoro et al. 2017, Babalola et al. 2017, and a host of others, which we have done over the past 5 years. And the overall finding from this study suggests that the integration of microbial solution as a component of agronomy strategy could satisfactorily address the current challenges of soil nutrient decline, poor plant growth, and improve soil resilience as well as the soil health. In the word of Walter Lodamick, an American soil conservationist, if the soil is destroyed, then our liberty of action and choice are gone. So we are saying the use of these various materials, biological inoculant, compost, needs to be stepped up in the course of agricultural production so that we can maintain the health of our soil. As I move towards the end of this presentation, Vice-Chancellor, there's an important debate which happened to one of my WhatsApp group from my group of class of 91 on the use of genetic modified crop and the implication on soil health. Managing the challenge of climate change, Madam Vice-Chancellor, and land degradation arising from soil fertility loss is something that requires a novel approach. The cultivation of GMO has often been argued as a risk to human life and to the environment. I must indicate that looking through the literature, I have not found clear position as to whether GMO destroy the environment, other than what the activists talk about. And from our own experience working with farmers here in Mpumalanga across different regions that we have the opportunity to work with, our farmers are accepting the cultivation of these GMO crops because it assists them to deal with the challenge of drought and the challenge of pest outbreak. In fact, the Chief Director in the Department of Agriculture is here. He will bear testimony to the fact that most of the teller maize that is grown in the province today, they have element of GMO, and we have never recorded any death. Rather, the farmers are celebrating the achievement of the introduction of this particular maize. And we've also mixed that with cowpea, which we are promoting from UMP as part of the major crop that can contribute towards addressing food security in the province. There is currently no general agreement in terms of providing empirical data to support the fact, the argument that GMO crops kill soil, GMO crops kill human beings, because the numbers are not there. But what has happened in the past few weeks, a few months, is with my group, my research group, we've initiated a research project where we're looking at what happened to the soil and to the plant at different stages. That is an aspect that we're taking forward in the near future. And we will be able to report properly on it. Our various engagement activities also bear testimony to the fact that farmers are interested in GMO crops, and we will continue to grow this crop to provide food for the people. As I conclude, Madam Vice-Chancellor, the concept of soil health is critical to our existence in life. Its implications are far-reaching and transcend the quest for our daily bread through to the provision of the necessities of life. Containing the various forms of soil abuses is very, very important, because the country, all over the world, there are various forms of abuses, over-fertilization, wrong use of fertilizer, wrong use of animal rearing, overstocking, contribute to various forms of abuses. There is a need for government to provide support and policy that regulates such abuses. Farmers also need to be educated in terms of the right type of fertilizer and the right amount and the right rate and the right place that fertilizer needs to be applied. The rollout of soil testing, transformation of the fertilizer value chain, very, very important. There must also be deliberate intervention from government to curtail abuse of fertilizer. You don't say because fertilizer is cheap, you throw it in. Fertilizer application must be underpinned by fertilizer testing. And for fertilizer testing to be generally acceptable, the price of testing must also be made affordable for farmers. Findings from our results over the years have shown that the complementary use of organic and inorganic fertilizer is the preferred that will guarantee soil health. We've seen it from various research of our own, and farmers have confirmed that. Finally, farmers impact. Finally, there is the there must be partnership between private, government, and organizations in order to provide the needed support. Government alone cannot do it. There must be improvement in terms of the extension services in the country, and that cannot be done by government alone. But I know the universities, particularly UNB, is already contributing towards developing sound and well-equipped and educated extension professionals in the country. I recommend the adoption of the promotion of integrated nutrient management as a component of soil crop technology mix with the awareness for improved soil health and increased crop yield, including small producers having access to the various inputs, whether it's microbial inoculant, whether it's compost and inorganic fertilizer, and that way, and educating this farmer on how best to use these resources represent a task that we must continue to promote and work towards to achieve the best and soil health for our farmers to function. I want to sincerely appreciate all the support that I've received. I know my DVC have assisted greatly. My Vice-Chancellor has been a great sense of, she has continued to support us. Prof. Mashudu, you may not remember my difficult days when I arrived in Northwest University. You opened the door for me. Prof. Mary, I want to particularly thank you. You were crossed when I had to leave you behind in the University of Limpopo. But I'm happy we came back again in University of Mpumalanga. I'm grateful to my supervisors. I'm grateful to Prof. Mkeni, my late uncle, Dr. Batolu, my own dear brother, Patrick Adebola, the Chief Executive and Executive Director of the Cocoa Research of Nigeria, and all my teachers who have supported and continue to provide support to me, even up today. I want to particularly acknowledge again Professor Babalola, who is here, Professor Demundia and his wife, my friend Dr. Weye, and many others who have heard of this inaugural lecture and decided that you make it a point to be here. I'm grateful to all of you and to my family. I cannot end this lecture without reference to my family, my boys, Larry, Ty, and Kevin. I thank you for everything, all the sacrifices you have done. And my grandson, who unfortunately cannot be here. My siblings, I appreciate you. My mom, you sacrificed everything that you had to make sure that I get trained. Thank you, I appreciate you, and I love you. My wife, Dr. Messi Olajumoke, the love of my life. You are my prayer warrior. You are my mother. You are all that I have been today. Even when I was not sure, you would pray and insist and must proceed. Thank you, and I love you.
Colleagues, in commemorating this very, very special occasion, and to officialize it now, Professor Kutu, we're asking now esteemed Vice-Chancellor, Professor Thoko Mayekiso, to hand you your certificate of your Professorial Inauguration, made today on 10 June at the University of Mpumalanga.
Good evening. It's evening. Yeah. Madekwan. Dumela. Aushile. Yeah. That exposes me. Honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Thoko Mayekiso, it is an honor for me to give a vote of thanks this evening. I'm sure we are all grateful for the lecture that we have received. I think it's best for us to just give a round of applause. Thank you. To members of council, to members of MENCO and E-MENCO, thank you for making this evening a success. My colleagues, two DVCs who are here, we really appreciate the fact that you created time, Professor Mel to be here, and all members of MENCO. To our academic staff, I'm sure you're motivated and encouraged to do even more, that this is not the end. You know, UNP is actually showing us that the opportunities are all out there. You can grab them and be who Professor Kutu is. He has actually led the way. To our SRC, our president, you're getting good mentoring. It's not about your status now, it's about you learning. And I think it's also an opportunity for all students as well. And we want to thank you for availing yourself. Funders who are here, who have even funded Professor Kutu, we really appreciate you, and we say continue to support us, especially the Department of Agriculture. We really want to establish good relations with you and do more and better, because we know together we can do better. To our honored guests, to Professor Omwiti and his wife, I heard that you traveled all the way from the US to just come and grace this opportunity or occasion. We really appreciate you, and we thank you for availing yourself. This is really true mentorship. You know, you did not leave him after completion, but here you are, still supporting him. Can we applaud? Professor Mkeni from the University of Arusha in Tanzania, the DVC Planning and Finance. We appreciate the fact that you came all the way. And I saw some of my previous colleagues. I saw Professor Babalola and Professor Edemudie. I think Professor Edemudie is all the way from Canada, if I'm not mistaken. So welcome and thank you for gracing this occasion. Professor Olurunji and Professor Mikele Olurunji, we want to thank you for availing yourself. You will always be part of UMP. You know you are part of us and we can't. So we thank you for continually supporting us. I also want to thank the Professor Mudau from UKZN, the DVC. We want to thank you for availing yourself and for gracing all this occasion. If I've missed anyone, we want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you for coming all the way. To Professor Luditi, the Dean of the Faculty of Agriculture and Natural Sciences, you should be a proud dean today. Being the first faculty to have a professor who gave an inaugural address. We really are happy that you are the first, leading by example, I'm sure, and I'm sure others will follow from your faculty. I'm not talking about other two faculties. I'm not going to be but well done. To our registrar, thank you very much for officiating this occasion. To the DVC RE, I'm sure you are also very happy that the day has finally arrived, and the first of its kind, under your leadership. I think we really appreciate you, and we request that we applaud you for that. under your leadership. We really thank them. To our Vice-Chancellor, our leader, our visionary leader, we all stand tall because we know that whatever we do, we are backed by a visionary leader who doesn't settle for mediocrity. And you heard her speaking. Everything is about excellence. There's no speech that she will finish without talking about the values. Have you heard that? And as a clinical psychologist, I mean, hey, it's intentional to make sure that we follow the values as indicated. You will not hear her speak without Luhambo, to remind us of who we are, where we come from, because it is that history that will help us to grow. And you shouldn't, you should understand why she says those things. It's because she wants us to remember continuously so and live these values. And you see them listed there. There is no speech without those two things. You can leave out any other, but Luhambo and values, you can finish it. Thank you for your leadership. To Professor Kutu, let me start by thanking your family. You know, I have always heard that behind all successful men, there is a woman who is training behind you. And today you have proved me that it is correct. You know, I even changed that and said, behind all successful human beings, their families and friends who are the source, your source of strength, source of inspiration, and source of encouragement. And today I'm going back. Behind every successful man, there is a woman. You showed us that indeed you really appreciate what she's done for you. And we appreciate you, Dr. Kutu. You have done very well. And continue to be a prayer warrior and support him and your children. We want to thank the family for supporting him, because it takes a village to raise a child. It also takes a village to support and get a person to be where he is today. It was the village that took care of you. And I'm grateful that you didn't become a, we would be talking a different language. We would be talking about you. So I want to congratulate you, Prof. Kutu. You are the first professor in agriculture, first at Mpumalanga, first professor to profess about your academic achievements. We are so grateful and proud of you for the things that you have done. And we are happy that we are going to continue to get those lessons. You know why he was referring to me? It's because I consult him when I talk about fertilization. you know everyone who comes from Limpopo is a farmer. You know, and we always believe that you don't even have to go to school to farm. So he's busy teaching me that no, you need to know the right type, the right time. You know those 4 rights I've mastered. The right soil, you know, all those rights, and I have learned a lot from you. And we want to say thank you for the work that you have done. I think I'm not the only one who will say we have learned from your lecture. I think the VC will agree that no, Tina who are illiterate in agriculture, today I can go and start farming. I am motivated, but I just don't understand if I would agree with you on the urine and other things. As a health worker, though that other one, I think I will still need to take you on and have that kind of a discussion. But I want to say to all of you, on a serious note, we appreciate you, Professor Kutu, the impact that you are making in our university, in our country, and also in our, internationally. So we feel your presence. The work that you have done shows that indeed you are a professor who professes about what you are doing. As I conclude, I want to say to organizers, thank you. To ICT, thank you. To our photographers, thank you. Enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of the professorial inauguration, may we rise and remain standing when the procession
Yes,